his leadership qualities actually let him down?
I had a really terrible boss at the time. I think something that shaped us is, like I was speaking about, is just bad bosses. John has also had his share of a bad boss. We agreed, like, we'll work together for a year. If we hate each other, we'll stop working together, because not a lot of couples can work together hand in hand.
Don't try to live life according to the opinions of people who don't have dreams that are as big as yours.
This is the Sphere of Influence podcast with your host, Moni. And today's podcast is brought to you by Studio R45. And here in this podcast, we discuss entrepreneur journeys, tips on how to become better entrepreneurs, and how to use social media to grow our businesses. And joining me today is an amazing power couple who are killing it as entrepreneurs, husband and wife and parents. And so please welcome me. Well, please help me. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. Please help me welcome Jonathan and Stephanie. Guys, thank you so much for coming and joining me. Yeah. I really love your story and the values that have led you to take this huge, giant leap to leave Canada and go to Fiji and start a whole nother business. But let's start at the beginning, because you guys were also entrepreneurs in Canada. And so what led you guys to first start your first business and then, I guess, go back to Canada?
I'll let you take it, Steph.
Oh, okay. So when we were in Canada, John and I got married really young. He was 19, I was 21. So we were working kind of beginner jobs. He was in a mechanical apprenticeship and I was waitressing. And I had a really terrible boss at the time. Things like I got glass in my eye one day at work, went to the hospital, and they docked all my pay for having to leave to go to the hospital because I had glass in my eye. It was just kind of things where I was going, oh, this is hard to work for these people because they don't care about us as employees. They don't care if I have glass in my eye or, that's just an example. But I remember I actually lost that job. And it was because I was a little bit obviously starting to complain about the treatment. I got fired from it. And so after that, I had 2 weeks kind of just wondering, what am I going to do? I was sick of waitressing. I just didn't really like the work atmosphere. I thought, I just need to get out of this, but I don't know what I'd be passionate about. And when I was young, my parents brought us up in a way that they didn't want us to have full-time jobs until we graduated. They just didn't want us to be locked down with a boss. And so they always taught us to go out into the neighborhood and just make money. If you want money, you need to go pick up dog poop. You need to go rake leaves up in people's yards. You need to water people's plants. It doesn't really matter what it is, but go make money. And then when we want to go on holiday or you want freedom as a kid, you still have that flexibility. You don't have a real boss. So in the 2 weeks where I was kind of trying to figure out what I was doing, I just told John, I think I can just start a cleaning business. I've seen people do it. It looks pretty easy, but I would like to make sure I have employees. And so he said, yeah, sure. You go for it, but you still have to make money. Obviously, we're young. We can't afford to just have the one income. It's not much. So I got another waitressing job because it's what I've been doing for 6 years. I know how to make money doing that, but I got one in the evening. And then in the daytime, I went door to door, knocking on people's doors to say, hey, can I clean your house? And actually, that was a terrible experience. I got yelled at. I got just doors slammed in my face. And I would go out every day and come home and just be I have 1 year to make this happen. So a thing that I was trying kind of out of desperation to make it a go is I put out an ad that said that I would clean your house for free. And then if you liked the cleaning, that you would hire me back. So I did probably 60 hours of cleaning for free. I got my first, I think, 3 to 4 clients out of that. And then as I got my clientele, I cut down on my waitressing shifts, which was nice. I went from 5 days a week to 4 to 3 to 1, and then I quit fully. And so that was really great, just kind of building that and figuring out, okay, how do I get clients? Obviously, door to door is not the way. Making them an offer that is hard to refuse, free cleaning. Maybe that was a great option to get my first foot in the door with people. And then after that, we started brand developing and building websites and stuff. Long story short, after quite a few years of doing that on my own, I love the business of like doing things, but I'm not a perfectionist. So when we had our first son, I had told Jonathan, the business is making enough money. Can you quit your job and run the company? Because I don't know how I'm going to do it with a newborn by myself. So we took a few months and I trained him. And then he kind of took over for me for a few months in the beginning. And it was great having him come on because he made training manuals for us. He systemized things. He really organized the business and helped us take it to another level. Where before I was just winging it. Like I have the drive to kind of make things happen, but I am not your organized person. So that's kind of how we started our business in Canada. And then we got it to a point where we were kind of doing a couple hours a day in the business, just more back end stuff. We had started hiring a manager, training her. So it was a pretty passive business. And John was kind of, we're very involved in our church. So John was spending a lot of time doing church stuff. And I was just kind of passively working in the business. So we were getting a little bit, to be honest, bored. Like wasn't aggressive enough that we were stressed and having to be very involved in it.
I think we just ran out of skills, probably.
Yeah.
More so.
I think right now I can say 100% we just ran out of skills.
Yeah. We just didn't have enough. Yeah. And when I say we ran out of skills, like we had adjusted our offer, what made us unique in the cleaning industry because there's so much competition. But after making our adjustment, I don't think we really knew where to go from there, to be honest. So, the business kind of, I guess, stagnated, if you want to say that.
Yeah, I think we've maintained what we had, but we didn't know how to make it pop any further. We were either going to open up a new location to make more money. We weren't really looking at the possibility that it had more potential, which now I see, we have more potential in it after doing more education. But at the time, we're kind of going, so what's next? Like, we have to start something new because this is all we can get out of this current business, right?
Yeah.
So we had gone to Fiji that year, right, with your family.
Yeah, 2011.
Yeah.
And so where does the
Oh, I think I'm missing you. Say it again.
So where does the idea of growing a farm come from? I know that in some of your podcasts I've heard about the sandalwood, but and about just like creating those opportunities and helping people and just like bringing employment to Fiji. And I know, John, you're from Fiji and from Canada. So give us a little bit of that background of like why Fiji, why create Waka Family, and for those people that might not know about Waka Family, what does it mean?
Right. So I guess to step way back, this kind of originates, I guess, as a picture on the wall in front of me that I'm looking at. And it's a picture of my first cousin, who in Fiji, your first cousins are your brothers and sisters. That's like, people just say brother and sister, and it could be your actual brother, sister, or a first cousin. So my first cousin's name was Eliki. We were like brothers. We were really, really close. And he was murdered in 2013. And his dream, or our dream, was to always do farming together. He was really skilled with agriculture stuff. And I was living in Canada at the time. And I told him, like, hey, we're going to do this together. And, whatever assistance I can provide you at a distance, I will, and then we'll progress from there. And then, so after his life was taken, it was kind of like, okay, I want his legacy to live on because he was very fondly remembered in the community, just because of his personality. And so I think it was the next trip that we came to Fiji, where, while we were sitting on our veranda here in the village, which is actually where we're recording from, hence our beautiful studio. But we were looking at the mountainside and just, all the unused land that our clan has in Fiji. And we were just saying, like, you know what, we got to do something about this. I feel like, now that we're aware and that we have this conviction that there's all this empty land, like, we're going to be held accountable to this. Because we need to be good stewards of what God gives us. And so that's kind of where the farming, the use of the land was birthed, making sure that we're responsible with our resources. And from there, I guess it went into naming, trying to figure out like what we're going to name the business. And so we ran through a bunch of different ideas, things that, complicated words in Fijian and things that were hard to just, when it comes to naming a business. So we just try to make it the most obvious thing we can. And we picture the brand, our Waka brand, WAKA, as being global. I know a lot of the classes that we take and, kind of the mentors that we have, they always talk about like nationwide or like North America. We have, because I guess Fiji is situated, we're just a rock in the middle of the Pacific. Like Fiji is not a big enough area, so we have to think worldwide. Whereas in like the US or Canada or, if you're in Europe, you can just think about your country because there's such a big customer base. So we automatically think worldwide. And so when we were naming, we were, like tossing around all these words and names, and it was like, you know what? Then we tossed around the word waka, which means roots in Fijian, specifically the roots of a traditional plant that is drank at traditional ceremonies and stuff like that. But in its simplest form, it means root. And so we've connected with that because it actually is what represents us and our journey, kind of coming back to our roots, coming back to my roots in Fiji and doing something with our people, with our family. And so, the mission of our brand is just to provide employment opportunities and, make money while we're doing it. And so we don't actually really care what we do necessarily, as long as it makes money and it gives people jobs. I just don't think that there's enough honest Christian business people in the world that control enough of the money. And so I think money's just a tool. And if we can, have a little part of that and do good with, the money that we make, hopefully one day that we can be effective. And so I think a lot of people are afraid of money, but I just, like I said, I think it's a tool, and what's the word? Like it multiplies or it amplifies the person you are, and it doesn't necessarily change people once they get there. They were always that person. It just amplified the characteristics that you see once they have it. And so I believe that, tithing, being responsible with our money right now, will be the people that we are, hopefully, once we have more of it. And so that's kind of the mission of our company. We picked Waka because, like, if you go to China, WAKA says Waka. If you go to South America, it says Waka. If you're in Fiji, it says Waka. So it's like, it's very easy to say, and it's kind of catchy. We spent like 2 years in the branding phase. So we took a long time, building the brand, the story, the designs behind it, the fonts, the colors. There was like a lot of thought that went into it, and we're seeing that pay off now, just the way that it connects. Like I would say, personal, anecdotal evidence, but I would say we're probably within the top 10 most recognized brands in probably in the Pacific already, being 3 to 4 years into this journey. And that's without really having any products to sell to people. And so
one thing that we wanted to focus on before we moved to Fiji, we were talking about, we're going to do farming, but how are we going to sell what we grow? That was our initial thought.
Yep.
And we looked in the Pacific area and we saw that not a lot of people are doing social media. We're in Canada and the US, like the market's very saturated. There's a lot of content for people in that area. Where in Fiji, there's not a lot of content that speaks to the people here and that people can connect with. So we thought, we could totally do that.
Okay, and we're back. We're back with the new setup because the last one didn't work that well, but that's okay because, that's what we do. We just roll with the punches. That's it. Make the best
Different
of it.
angle, one mic. we're going to rock
Yeah.
it.
There you go. We just wanted you guys close to each other.
Yeah,
Everybody wants
exactly.
to see you cuddled up.
Yeah, and I kept looking at him on my screen because it was so weird not to.
Yeah. And so we were talking about you guys' journey of how did it all come about? Like how was that you traveling to Fiji and how did that come about? Because I think you guys were raised in Canada.
Yeah.
So how did that happen to you guys?
So my parents were missionaries. And so I grew up in a bunch of different parts of the world. And so, yeah, we would come back to Fiji every couple of years. My dad was good about like making sure that we were connected with our heritage. And then, yeah, I guess things just progressed and we just saw like a huge amount of opportunity in Fiji. And we felt like, well, technically half of my family's here. So let's make a go for it. Let's give it a try and test Fiji out. But it's more like, what's her story? Because everybody thinks that like I'm the reason that we came to Fiji, but it's actually not really true.
Well, like John and I, when we got married in, it's true. 2011, we got married and we came the next year for our 1-year anniversary to Fiji. And when you go to Fiji, everybody has a different style of Fiji. If you look on the brochures, it's beautiful hotels and holiday places. And then there's people that live in cities that have that kind of lifestyle. And so when we come to Fiji, we are in a traditional village. The first time we ever came, it honestly felt like a nightmare for me. I was just so out of my element and my comfort zone. And culturally, it was just so very, very different. And John did not give me a lot of heads up on what was going to be different or expected of me. So I felt like for a month, I just did something wrong every 2 minutes. And I was getting a lot of negative feedback about my behavior in this new place. There was no electricity. We had kerosene lanterns. When we go to bed, you have to tuck in the mosquito net. And there was like probably 10 rats in the roof just having a soccer game up there. It was very excessive. Going to the toilet in the middle of the night if you had to. You're trying to find your flashlight somewhere and you're just like in this dark death hole and just like praying to God that like a cockroach doesn't run up your leg, or at least I was trying not to cry. There's just a lot of things that were just so uncomfortable and so foreign to me that like I wanted to be good at the culture, but I didn't know what I was doing. There's a lot of expectations. And I just remember going, I could never live here. Like this is so hard. And I cried probably every night for a month because it was just very difficult. Even walking around, like to be respectful, you have to crouch down to like try to lower yourself. And if you're going to walk around anyone, you have to walk around and you say, chillo, chillo. And then John's grandfather was chief. And so it's even more strict in his house. And so when we were greeting him and stuff, we're having to crawl across the veranda to him on our hands and knees. And just even like the way that they greet you and things, like they give you a kiss, but it's more of like what we would describe as like a sniff on like each like side of your face. And then they cry on you. And just, all these things were just very overwhelming for me. Obviously, it's just out of comfort. And I think our culture in North America is just based off of comfort. And so when you're taken out of that completely, it's so hard. So anyway, enough with the discomfort. Over the years, we kept coming back and visiting, and we improved the house that we were staying in. We put some solar, and I think I got more adjusted to the culture, and I didn't suck as much at participating in life. And then when we had kids, it just made it so much easier because people were less focused on me and more focused on the grandchildren, which took some of the pressure off as well. So I think John always knew it was kind of like, there's no way that I would move to Fiji. It was just not happening. So when we were in the process of kind of figuring out what we were doing, our business in Canada, like I said, was doing well. And we were just kind of going, what should we do? And we'd been talking about this farm. And John had been trying to do it from afar for a couple of years and started coming down to Fiji for a month every year. And we had agreed as a married couple that we were never going to work apart. Like a month was kind of like the max. And we knew he needed to put more time in. And so I said, well, John, I think either you quit what you're doing or we move. And he was like, what? you want to move? And I was like, yeah, like if it's to build something and like to have like a goal, then like that would be exciting. And I can like, I'm very goal driven. So I'm like, I can adjust my mentality to be fine with discomfort if I have something to achieve. I'm probably never just going to place myself in something uncomfortable if I have no goal or purpose or reason to be there. But when you have a reason, I think like pain or discomfort is easy to overcome for myself. And I think it just kind of, you have to do it to do that goal. Like we can't be in Fiji with the land and not have the discomfort of what I'm not used to. So yeah, I think John was a little surprised. And I was more so like, let's just do it. Let's just see how it goes. And if we hate it, we could totally go back home and just start.
Because,
back.
I think a lot of, that's amazing because I feel like, I don't know. I think with couples, it's hard to have your partners back 100% of the time for some couples. That would have been like a deal breaker. So it's amazing that you were like, you know what, this is what needs to be done and let's just do it. Where some people might find that very hard. With the culture, with everything being so different from what you know, that's amazing that you guys were able to just like power through that and just make the decisions that needed to be made for the best of your whole family, right?
Yeah, and it's been interesting. We thought, like, when we moved, we were moving into Jonathan's family home, so there's lots of relatives that live here, and we kind of went like, yeah, either like the first year will kind of like break us as a couple, or we'll see how it goes. And honestly, I think the first year, like, it made us a stronger couple. And it was good because we've been married for a long time. We're on our 12th year right now. And so we've already had that beginning stages of kind of working out some bad years, some communication issues. So I definitely wouldn't say it's something that you'd want to do freshly married or new to like a relationship to put such strain on you as a couple. But I think for us, because we've sorted out some communication stuff and just how to sort out issues and how we deal with each other under stress, I think we've done really well. And obviously, if you were in our house and you had to hear us on a stressful day, maybe it wouldn't sound pretty, but at the end of the day, we still really like each other. And we sort out our problems. We either argue through it or communicate our way through it, or we get out of it one way or the other, because we know for us, we're stuck together. And if this doesn't work and it's breaking our relationship, we can change what we're doing. And I think we always discuss that we're very lucky to be a couple that our goals align. And that, again, starts with the basis that we both believe in Jesus, that we have a strong background in Christianity. So our baseline is the same. And then everything from there, I think for me, I can accomplish or drive after something as long as it's my goal. And if it's John's goal, then we're totally aligned in everything. And, even financially, we can kind of just chase after it together, which is great. We don't see that a lot with our friends. They're very different people, or they're very on different pages. And John and I are very different, but we just have this weird commonality of passion together. So, yeah.
No, there's a lot of couples that are, they say, oh, what, like, or people say like a power couple. And I don't know like what exactly that even means yet, or if we are that thing, but I find that for us, it's just being aligned on purpose. And I think it was Andy Elliott say a few months ago that burnout is actually like the definition that he gave to burnout is just like loss of purpose. So, because people can be doing the same thing they were doing a month before and just have no drive. And so then they call it burnout. They reach the end of the rope. And so I think for us, it's like, we'll call it power couple or whatever. It's just like, I think just being aligned on purpose, just from like a relational standpoint, is very, very healthy. And then from a business standpoint, I mean, that's like the ultimate thing. And so for us, definitely like our relationship with Jesus comes first. And that's like on an individual basis. And then our relationship with each other, then with the kids, and then with the businesses. And so, yeah, I think our priorities are aligned and our purpose is aligned as well.
Yeah, I think that's the for me, right? A power couple is just like people that are so in tune with each other that just everything flows, from businesses to relationships to friendships. It just all comes together. So for me, at least, that's the definition of a power couple, that people just get along and they have just like this beautiful relationship, whether it's with themselves or with their business. So, and I think you guys are just like proof of that. So it's beautiful to be able to see.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what relationships, now that we're talking about relationships, what relationships do you think came into both of your lives that shaped the journey of your business?
That's a really, really good question. Probably just our relationship, I would say, like mostly at the moment. And then the relationships that we find along the way with, because like we were talking before, like about, how we try to hire operators instead of just hiring employees. I mean, you have to hire employees eventually, but so finding the main people, and you find that those people really influence the direction in which your businesses go or don't go. Yeah.
I have another answer, an alternative answer. I think something that shaped us is, like I was speaking about, is just bad bosses. John has also had his share of a bad boss when he was working in the automotive industry. But that person that I'm speaking about had a really great business outlook and philosophy that we both really respected. We just saw that his relational execution of it with his employees and his staff and the way he ran his team was done really poorly, micromanaged, and people were just put down a lot. But we looked at the businessman and the idea of it, and we went, wow, that's inspiring. And I think having people that you are working with that do it poorly, and you see it and you go, I think I could do that better. And it's not even that, like John and I, especially when we were younger, knew nothing about business, but we know more about relationships and how to care for people, and just try to be someone that creates an atmosphere for people that are excited to be there and that feel cared for and loved. And I think that's just a skill set that John and I have worked on growing through our entire lives, just loving on people and caring for them as friends. And I think that's the same thing in employees. Like you do realize like they're there because we pay them, but also, we have to spend typically 8 hours a day working. So why not try to create the atmosphere that is the best, that people enjoy because they have to be there. And so at least if they have to be there, hopefully they enjoy it as much as possible. So I think that's something relationship wise that's affected us, just relationships with people that have failed us as employers, and where I think both of us are high achievers. So we're decent employees, but if we're treated poorly, I think it's easy to go, I could do that better. And you know what? I'm going to do it better. And why not? It does take risk and, but I think that's so exciting. And I think being on the same page. I remember John actually, when he was working in automotive and I was running our company, we would talk about their day-to-day drama at the store every day. And nobody would ask me about my day because my day was boring. I'm by myself. We were cleaning toilets. There wasn't a lot of drama. There wasn't a lot going on. And then when he quit his job to come work with me, I think that's when we really aligned. We agreed, we'll work together for a year. If we hate each other, we'll stop working together, because not a lot of couples can work together hand in hand. And so we thought, that could be something that could go wrong for us. And then after the year, we went, yeah, actually, this is great. We do have fairly separate roles in the way we function. We make decisions together, but then, I'll take care of part of the business and John will take care of a different part because we have our strong suits. But I think all of that said, I think that's just something that we aligned all of a sudden on our passion and our goal together. Where before we were very separate in what we were doing, what we were driving after. And then all of a sudden when we had to make money together and figure it out, that forced us to kind of sit, talk, figure out how we communicate with each other, how we could be better business partners, which in turn has made us better spouses. So I think that's been an interesting
Hmm.
relationship twist.
That's, yeah, that's beautiful. And I think, just like you said, the relationships that really shaped you, I think it's great that instead of them being a negative thing, they were turned into a positive thing. That you're able to say, hey, I didn't like to be treated this way. And then also, so then I'm not going to treat people that way. And then also, I think I'm with you guys as far as the mentality of, hey, we work together 8 hours a day, right? Like, this is for me when I bring anybody into my team. Like, I know a lot of people say, oh no, don't make it like a family. But to me, that's important because we are going to be spending part of our lives. That's like 1/3 of our days spent with these people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want to have good people in my life, and I want to have those relationships that are meaningful, right? Like, I care about you as a person. You don't only work for me, but because at the end of the day, you are a person. You are a person. There's issues. And as long as we're able to communicate and have respect for each other, then those are, I think, the most important things. And then from there, set the rules. And then as long as we're all respectful of each other, like, we could have this great bond. And even though I'm your boss, we could still have our little work family at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people always say, like, and it's classic. You hear it in business or in work employment situations. Like, it's not personal. Like, it's business. And I always I was fired from a job once, and that's what he said to me. It's like, it's not personal. Like, it's business. And I'm like, no, you fired me, a person, and it feels personal because that's just the way it is. And so I think it's silly. Like, we have all these things that we, these kind of like really random things that we say, and it's like, no, it actually is personal. And it actually gets to the point where, with that particular boss, where it was like, great vision, great offer, had the ability to hire all the right people. Like, all of my coworkers were sick. They were awesome people, but it gets to a point where, like, his leadership qualities actually let him down. And the amount that I'm not saying, like, these are the keys to running a successful business. I'm just saying that I found that, like, my lack of respect for him personally and the way that he treated the people, the great people that he was able to hire, eventually, like, took a toll on everybody. And yeah, so that actually matters as well.
Right.
And I was speaking to my manager at the coffee shop last month and telling her, you are friends with all your staff, but you have to kind of have like that soft part of you that allows you to be their friend. Just like, you need to harden that a little bit, because I was saying to her, it is very personal when people mistreat you. Like, for me, I remember, like, my first employee that ever mistreated me in a horrible way, I cried about it for like a week, because I built this company, and this company is my baby. I'm passionate about it. I'm trying to make like such a good place for people. And then someone comes in and they do something to you that you're like, oh, like, I really actually cared about you as a person. Like, I wanted this to be so good for you. And so it's hard as a business owner. It is so personal, but then you have to step back and go, they're here because I pay them. Like, yes, I love them. I adore them. I want to work with them. I want this to be so good for you. But then you have to have like this colder side of you that goes, okay, I will treat you personally, but when things go poorly, I need to be a little bit harder and go, yeah, okay, it was business for you. I care, but I'm also going to move on. And in a month or two, I have. It's a weird thing mentally for a business owner, because we do care. We built this thing from the ground up. It's our baby. We wouldn't do this if we didn't like have passion about it. And I wouldn't have hired you if I didn't like you. I wouldn't have put effort into training you and like trying to like bring you up with me if I didn't like you as a person and care about your success as well. And so when someone slaps you in the face, yeah, I'm probably going to go cry about it for a moment and then go, okay, next. Because we always have to move forward and move on. And I think that's what people mean. It's just business. Like, I have to move on. I have to be cold. But I'm like, the reality is all of us are people. All of us have feelings. you know?
It'd be better. I think it'd be better to actually say like it is personal, but it's just business, because like you can't really get around that. And like with our conversations that we have with our manager, it's like these people are they're your friends, because that's what we have is like a family, and it's a really special, unique bond that all of our staff have with each other. But at the end of the day, say that you care so much about somebody that you can't have a hard conversation is actually like putting at risk everybody else's job, because if you have to have a stern conversation, it's because you're trying to look after the business. And so if you don't look after the business and you care too much about your relationship with that person, you won't, like, everybody that works under you won't be able to put food on the table for their family, because that's what this job allows them to do. And you won't be able to look after your family. So, you are friends, but in order to care for everybody, like, in order to care for that one person, you actually have to care for everybody. So it's a unique balance.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a hard balance, right? Because just like you said, it is your baby, and the people that come on board after that haven't dealt with the growth and the struggle, and they come in at the point of when you're at the point where you're getting employees, right? You're at the point where you're being successful, so they haven't struggled, they haven't seen the hard hill that you guys had to climb to get there, so they might not appreciate things as much as the owner does. And I think that's right, there could be a lot of friction, right? When people haven't experienced that hard hill and you're just here collecting a check. But sometimes I think one of the things I've learned, at least this year, is really hiring people with the core values that we have in our company, because I think if you hire within those core values, then that person fits into your core values. So like actually knowing what those are, it's the beginning of a homework of a business owner, because if you don't know and you're not clear on what those are, how can you hire somebody that fits those values? But I do see that when you do have those values present and you know what they are and you hire within those, then you're going to have less of a turnover, because you're going to have the people that resonate with those values.
That's true. Like in our cleaning company in Canada, we actually, before we do interviews, send a personality test to the person applying. We found within our industry, we need certain personality traits. And those people stick with us longer term. They do better work. Our customers adore them more. And so even before we interview them, we get like a personality chart. And then obviously that's just kind of like a general personality thing. Like it doesn't show who you are. So, but we have those traits, and then we go in to interview them and actually get to know them. And we found a lot more success within that, because before, a lot of the people that we'd interview would do so well in the interview, and you'd be like, oh, you're so like nice and we connect and it's great. And then they're a nightmare employee. And so yeah, it's weird. In our industry, we actually find like the quieter, shy people that are terrible at the interview are my best hires. When they're like slightly off in the interview and I'm like, ooh, that was awkward, I'm always like, she's gonna be great. It's like, I just need someone that's more steady, that's more detailed, that's sweet. And if they come off, even like myself, I'm not the best employee for that. I'm not the most detailed. If you put me in front of people, I can typically wow them and connect with them and get the job. But if it's a detail-oriented job, I'm not your best hire. And so it's definitely interesting to work through how to get a good hire as well, because you don't want to waste your time with someone that's a terrible fit. Like you have to put that time and effort in with them. So do you have any process like that for yourself, Monica?
And even though they might not be the right hire, I do. So how I said, the core value part is very important for me, just like knowing that they fall within the, like having integrity, right? And just like actually asking them questions of like, hey, so, not so much because obviously when somebody's interviewing, they're going to give you their best face and they're going to say whatever you want to hear because obviously they want the job, right? But just like bringing back the values and asking like, okay, well, if we talk about, like what are people that, let's say like displayed a certain value in your life, or how was your relationship with your mother and your father? Like what kind of values did you see in them that you like, right? So kind of digging into their relationships with others has helped me figure out a little bit more about, okay, what are the values that they might have or that they see valuable?
That's good. I like those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So Monica, we have to wrap up pretty soon because we have another meeting. Speaking of social media, I know that's something in business that you guys are talking about on your podcast. So John and I have been growing our social media, and we've had an opportunity to work with there's two really large cell phone companies in the country. And so we have our meeting coming up that we're supposed to be signing a contract with them to do 2 posts a month for them for advertising on our platform. So it's something that's a unique process for us. We haven't done it yet. And we're I think we're at 4 years in on doing social media. So a lot of people think when they're doing their social media that it is, like an overnight success. And we're not even that successful yet. But it's our first big deal. So we're pretty excited about it. It's something that we've been kind of procrastinating because we've never really been sure how to monetize that kind of stuff or get into it or what's an acceptable price. It's also something that people, I don't know, maybe I haven't researched it enough, but it's something that I didn't feel like was readily available to be like, this is how much you could charge for this kind of thing, or this is how you could make it something that people would be excited to work with you. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be doing posts for this phone service company, and that's what our meeting's about. So we're kind of antsy to see how it goes. We have the contract out there. Because we're in the Pacific, they have a pretty intense contract because I think people on this side just kind of sign what they're given and don't read it over. So we've read it over and we've asked them to revise a few things in it. Yeah, we don't want them to own us forever. And that's kind of what part of the contract is saying, that they could have all of our stuff for eternity. So we're like, well, that has to be out. But other than that, we're pretty excited to be finally getting into this atmosphere of being able to be paid to do advertising on our social media for other companies as well. So that's kind of what's coming up next for us.
Yeah. But in the meantime,
that is an amazing opportunity.
We would love to chat with you actually and see how, because we're going to be launching the media company from here, which will have different sorts of videography and photography and social media content creation offers. I think we need to chat about how we can work together because we just want to create jobs in Fiji, and because the cost of living is so low here, I think there's an opportunity for us to do kind of like VA services for people who need it, or for companies like yours. And so, yeah, it'd be sweet to have a conversation, maybe off camera next time. But yeah, thank you for having us on.
Yeah, definitely. I would love that. Of course. Do you guys have time for a rapid round, or you guys have to already go?
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay, sure. Let's do it.
6 questions. That's it, guys. Okay. So The first question is, what is one thing you guys wish you knew when you started your journey?
Don't say yes to too many things.
Yeah, that's exactly.
With like being an entrepreneur, you're always like, oh, that's a shiny thing that looks cool. Let's do that. Let's try it. And so just focusing on figuring out your offer and refining it before you move on.
I love that. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. So second question. So what is the most challenging project you've worked on, and what did it teach you?
Opening up the coffee shop, we've had to put in food. We're doing pizza and different things like that. It's just teaching me a whole new skill set. Being in the food industry, I realized, number one, I don't want to be in the food industry after this one. There's a lot of moving parts. And so it's taught me how to put in systems to coordinate people a little bit better. Before, our systems were stagnant, and now they've got a lot more moving parts. So I think that's just a skill set that I'm still developing. It's still not, obviously we've been doing it, I think now for a year. You need a lot of time to get good at certain things. But I would say that is a new skill set that I've been thrown into this year. It's harder than I thought. So, you're not great at everything until you've failed quite a few times, and then you'll get better. And we're still learning. So
nice. I think we're forever learning. Okay, question number 3. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received as an entrepreneur?
Mine was just to say no. When we started our business, I had someone say, don't even go to school, just learn how to say no to your clients. I had a lady ask me, can you change our cat litter? And I told her no. And she asked me 7 more times and I still said no. And now that's a policy in our company that we don't do that, because I have a rule. If I can't do it, I can't make my staff do it. And I have some big ick thing against animal feces. And now I'm so happy that I said no, because we don't have to do that 12 years in. And so I think that's the best advice. I think my uncle, he's a great businessman, told me to do that. He said, don't even bother. You just need to learn how to say no, set your boundaries with customers, and pursue the things that you actually want to do in business.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. I have too many.
And I think but that's so true, and I think it's hard as entrepreneurs to say, hey, no to a customer because we want to keep them, and that might not lead us to not keeping them. So, but that is so true. We need to learn to say no. What is one piece of advice you wish you would have implemented sooner in your journey?
I think probably for me right now, I feel is, don't try to live life according to the opinions of people who don't have dreams that are as big as yours. I think I am affected by what people think or what, influential mentors, parents, whatever it is, have thought about what I could accomplish in life. I'm not saying that I've accomplished a whole lot, but this is the journey, and we have huge dreams. Like our vision is to be the most innovative company in the South Pacific by 2031. And so I think because I'm with Steph and we back each other real hard and we totally believe in ourselves, we believe that we can do it. But there are a lot of people who would be like, I don't know, you sure? That sounds kind of crazy and weird. Let's be realistic here. And I'm like, no, let's dream big. And she's like, let's dream bigger. And so I think, just not concerning yourself with the opinion of people who have dreams smaller for you than you do.
I love that. And then the last question would be that if you had any message for new entrepreneurs, what would it be? Especially those that are trying to do something similar to what you guys are doing.
I would say start now. A lot of people, I have so many friends that talk about going into business or just want to try it out, and they don't ever get around to it. They mostly do talking. And I'm like, go out and try, fail. You'll learn a lot from the failing, or you'll succeed. And then I think the other thing that John and I constantly say to people is while you're doing it, tell your story. We all have a story. We all have something that we're doing. We all have a unique thing or personality, and you can share that. Yeah. Some audience will connect with you. Someone will feel your pain. Someone will enjoy watching your success. Someone will see what you're doing and be inspired by it. I think that's exciting. And I think that's why we're on social media. And I think, business, we want to encourage people that are on the sidelines that haven't taken the jump to be just go try it. Honestly, the worst that can happen is you fail and you start again.
I have a story, actually.
Okay.
So this is a very random story, but I started our meeting's been delayed.
Oh, perfect.
So we're good. Yeah. The big boss is in another meeting, so he's delayed by half an hour. So it's perfect. It's talking about failures, or what could appear to be a failure is me and a friend started a property management company like 10 years ago. And it was our unique thing was like, it was basically house sitting, because there's a lot of insurances, home insurance, that requires somebody to actually be in the house every 48 hours in Canada, at least, because of the cold winters and all of that kind of stuff. So we were like, okay, we'll come in and we'll check people's houses. We'll go out and offer this to people. We got like 2 clients ever. And he was just really committed to his 9 to 5. And I was kind of like, going door to door, doing the like, talking to the homeowners and stuff like that, dropping off cards. And it just never really panned out. But what we did create was a partnership agreement. Fast forward like 3 years later, after we had like decided we're not going to proceed with this, I come to Fiji. Me and my dad are 50-50 partners in this business because we're the Fijian citizens in this relationship. And so we went to the capital city. This is on one of our trips to Fiji. We were flying out that afternoon, and we're like, okay, the last day we're here, we'll go to the capital city. We'll do all our, the documentation that we need to do to register this company. And so we had to get it done. And we went to the registration office, and they're like, okay, we close in like half an hour. Where's your guys' partnership agreement? I was like, oh, I didn't know. This is before I knew anything. And I'm like, we don't have one. I was like, wait a minute. Me and TJ made one like 3 years ago. Let me go check my Google Drive. And it was right there. So I just like went on my phone, edited out, changed the company name, changed like my old partner's name, and then updated the date and ran it across town to a print shop, printed it, came back right before they closed. And I was like, and that's just like to me, that was like such a like affirmation, I guess, that like, hey, nothing is a waste of time. Like you live and you learn. And if all of that, because we only came home once every 2 years. So if I hadn't done that with my friend, learned a bunch of other important things, and actually had that contract, like I wouldn't have opened the company up, and the name might have been taken, all of this stuff. So it's, I don't believe like you fail unless you just give up. Like failures are just learning opportunities, just to like, yeah, we don't, like I always say, we don't lose, we learn. And so you only lose if you give up, and we don't give up. So.
Yeah. I love that. And it's so true. It's like, it's all about perspective, right? It's all about perspective. And just like you said, if you fail, right, that experience that you got, it's forever going to be with you. So call it a failure or learning experience, like that's not going anywhere. And it will, just like you said, it helped you in your future, and it will come back around and help you some way, because those are tools in your toolbox now.
Yeah. And I was listening to a interview with Alex Hormozy and Dave Ramsey, and he said a quote that really stood out to me. And he was like, all of the different iterations of our businesses and the success now that we have is just in the heap of garbage that we stand on top of is our failures. And the only difference with us compared to other people is that we're standing on top of the pile of garbage, not laying under it. And I'm like, that is so true, because like we learn way more from our failures than we do from our successes. It's just the people who actually succeed are just the people that didn't give up. And so it's like, it's not about complexity. It's just about consistency and showing up every day.
Yep. 100%. I love that. And are you guys still having to go, or should we continue? You guys, we've been on it for a while.
Yeah, we can roll for like another 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
If you want.
Another 20 minutes, you said?
Yeah.
I think we're having a delay.
So delayed. Check. Can you hear us?
Did you say you could go for another 20 minutes? You were cutting off for some reason.
Yeah, we can go for another 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
So can we ask you a question? Or what is the directive here? Yeah. I want to know more about you. I want to know what exactly you like. So I know that you're like a social media and accounts manager and stuff like that. So what is it exactly that you do? I'd like to know.
So what I do is I do a little bit of everything. So I actually started as a photographer, and if we go way, way, way back, so I used to be a firefighter. Actually, before that, I did marketing. I worked at a dental office, and I did marketing. I really loved it, but I was going to school to be a firefighter because I really wanted to be a firefighter. So I went into firefighting, and unfortunately that ended because I had a back injury and I had back surgery, and it didn't go as planned. So I have nerve damage on my left side of my leg, and I could pretty much, I'm not able to pick up my foot. So pretty much that fire
Wow.
career ended. And so once that happened, obviously the worst thing, like it was a very traumatic event because it's like, think of your business, right? Like you build your business and then all of a sudden you're not able to run your business anymore. It was soul crushing. And at that point I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? And I just started taking pictures. I had a lot of issues walking, and a lot of pain. And I mean, I still have a lot of pain, but that's just like part of my norm now. But back then it was just like trying to get used to the pain and the drop. It's called a drop foot. Was more severe prior to my physical therapy. So it was challenging to like walk and my foot not work and not being used to that. But I found photography to be like my healer, and it brought joy to me. And then I started doing events and like quinceañeras and weddings. And then eventually somehow I ended up meeting some business owners. And I was like, okay, well, I could help you with like product photography. And then that led back to marketing in the way of social media. I started working with a family member, and they were into real estate, and I started doing their marketing and their social media. And so all the skills that I learned in my photography, right, the video and the photography, all that played into social media. And so then I started my social media marketing, agency with that. And basically what I work with business owners, and what I do is I help them create content, and whether that just be video editing or actually helping them full on to create the content and come up with ideas. I do website design, not like the coding. That's a little out of my range.
Yeah.
But website design, logo designs, so all the artsy stuff, and obviously photography as well. So managing, as far as the social media managing goes, just like helping them, like, a lot of people, well, the bigger companies don't have the time to sit down and post for themselves. So I help them with that as well. So that's a little bit of, in a nutshell, what I do.
Right. That's really, really, really cool.
So, sorry.
Yeah, but it goes to show that thing of like failing.
Oh, go ahead. I think we have a delay again.
Sorry.
You go ahead.
So that
I'd
goes
like
to
to hear
show
what
that
you're
the thing
saying.
about failing, right? Like not being able to do something.
Oh, it's really delayed.
So I was saying that goes to show the thing about failing, right? And what our perceived notion is of failing, right? Because I think for me, I felt, even though I didn't fail, it felt like a failure not to be able to go back to being a firefighter. And some of those things that I've learned there did translate to the business now, but also some of my marketing stuff that I did while I was going to school really translated to what I do now. So, it's just like we think we fail, but this is yet another example of how the things that we do in our past, whether, we think that they're not useful or not, or we're wasting our time, that they might not be. because when I was going to and doing marketing, even though I loved it, I was just like, oh, it's just my job to get paid and to pay the bills while I go to school. But at the end of the day, it came out to be what I do for a living now. So don't disregard the things that come your way. They're there for a reason.
That's right. I agree. And we met in Ryan Pineda's class at Wealthy Creator. What made you sign up for that class?
So I ended up signing up for that class because so I was thinking, okay, Ryan Pineda it's killing it, obviously, on social media. And if there is a way for me to be able to help my business owners, right, be more successful, it will help me be more successful, right? And I think a lot of people have an ego from saying like, hey, like I know more or I know best. And that slows you down. And I think you're missing an opportunity to learn something that maybe you didn't know. So by putting your ego away and saying like, hey, what can I learn from this person? I think it just projects you further and helps you to get more knowledge. So I went in there with being open-minded to see what I could learn that I might not know. And I've learned so much from them, and not only for myself, right? Because I think before I was doing social media for myself, I did it for other businesses, but I didn't put myself out there. So it was really interesting now being on the other side of having to be in front of the camera, right? Like that was a teaching moment for me because we could say all we want as a coach, but when you're in front of the camera and now you're the one that has to do it, it's a totally different feeling. So, but it's been a great journey.
So how do you, because a lot of social media, a lot of stuff in the social media world is like clout. Like it feels like people, at least the way people talk, like, hey, you don't get to have an opinion unless you have like, so many thousand or 100 followers. So, which I don't actually believe is true, although it is like a good feather in the cap, like say for Ryan Pineda, like, he's got the backing for us to believe that he knows what he's talking about. So how do you approach like the business owners for yourself without having like necessarily having like a huge following personally? Like, how does that work? I'm asking that because, we're going to be entering into this space, in the South Pacific. And so this is something that I feel like we're going to have to figure out how to like have an answer to this question. Like, hey, why would I hire you? Like, what makes what convinces me that you know more than I do?
Well, I think there's always a need for social proof, right? And even though I didn't have it with my account because I started way after I started my social media, like I didn't promote myself, but I still did the work for other companies and other businesses. So I was able to show like, hey, this is what I have. And I've taken this account from 0 to 6,000 followers or whatever the numbers may be, right? And show, okay, this is the work that I would be doing, and being able to provide them with that piece of like, okay, factual knowledge of like, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing. And does it look good? What does it translate to, right? So, I think for business owners, especially, it's important to know like, hey, if I'm going to be spending 3,000 to 5,000 or whatever it is that you're charging for your social media marketing, like what am I going to be getting in return, right? So I think being able to show them that, it's what translates for a business owner. And maybe at the beginning, like you might need to do some free work just to be able to get those accounts and see, hey, we will work with you. We will do 3 months and get you to wherever it is that you're trying to get them to. And then if it is worthy of your time, then we continue and you pay us our fee, or or not, So I think I actually, I did not come up with that idea by no means. Excuse me. That idea actually came from Alex Hermosi, who just says like, hey, do the work, create the social proof that you have done it and you have been successful. And then you could go ahead and reel in other people, because now you have the proof that shows like, hey, I've done it before, so I could do it with you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. How to get your first 5 customers. It's crazy. Like, hearing you say those things and I'm like, oh, that's Hermosi. And then you say it's Hermosi. It's just, that's really, like knowing that there's people like him, that it's encouraging. It's inspiring that like, hey, you and me are both listening to like similar people. Like, I want to be like him when I grow up, that people like to be influential in a way that's like actually like so helpful and like helps us achieve our dreams and is like measurable and manageable. I don't know. I think he's hugely impactful for me right now.
Yeah, John and I are actually like in the process of opening the media company.
Yeah.
Before we open it, we're working through Alex's 2 books. We're just taking a week for each, and then like crafting our offer and how to do all our sales and stuff. I think like I love what he's doing in the sense because he's so passionate about business. And obviously right now, like he's already made his money. So my family were listening in the background to one of his things and they're like, oh, what is he trying to sell you on? And I was like, no, this is the part where you could like really buy in with him, because he doesn't sell you on anything. He literally wants you to be a millionaire so then he can help you with your company so he can make more money. That's amazing. Like, I'm like, that's a big dream. Like, I can't imagine being like, you know what? There's not enough millionaires out there for me to buy their companies or be partners with them. I need to help people become millionaires so there's more millionaires that I can invest in. I'm like, whoa.
He's training you so that he can make his money one day.
He's training you so he can be like, here, let's be partners. Be a better business person so I can be a better business person. I'm like, that's long-term thinking. That's long-term goals. And I appreciate how ginormous the vision is. I'm like, wow, I can't quite dream that big. Like, I aspire to dream that big and put in that much time, to give people value. I think that's amazing. And I honestly, like John and I were saying, I was listening to his first book. I was in Canada and we're like, let's listen to these books. And I was listening to it and I started crying over a couple of things he was saying, because I went, oh, that was me. Oh, I totally went through that struggle. Oh, wow. He had a sucky moment there, because I look at someone with have such respect about his big dreams. And I was like, oh, I didn't think I could get emotional about this, but it hit me where it like was so personal. And I was like, man, he's so good. Like, he made me cry over his audiobook. That's pretty epic. Over a business book, just me weeping while like dusting someone's shelf. Like, yes, totally. Yeah.
And it's funny because he speaks so simple, right? He's very simple, right? This is what you need to do. And I think it goes beyond people's brains about how simple he puts it, but that's really how it is. It's just like, get the customers, get the leads, do this. Like, it's just a step. He's just telling you all the steps. And I think we, as business owners, sometimes we overcomplicate things. And I think in my personal experience, I think that comes from like not having enough conviction in yourself and belief, because sometimes we're a little broken, like life kicks us down and sometimes you stop believing in yourself. I think for a while I stopped believing in myself because of that. Like, I worked so hard to be a firefighter, and when that ended, it was just like, ooh, I'm sorry. Ooh, we had a little tear there. But I felt like, oh my God, like my whole world shattered, and I stopped believing that I would be able to do anything else. So for a few years, it was just like, you're just in the ocean and the waves, and you're just like going with the water and you're not really doing anything for yourself because you no longer believe that you could do it. But you can. It's all about taking actions, and the steps are more simple than we actually make them out to be.
Yeah, totally. And so like, where did you find the inspiration to kind of like pick yourself up and like get back on the bike and keep pedaling? Was it from somebody or something?
For me, honestly, I think my mom has been the biggest inspiration for me because we're from California. We're from California, but we are originally from Ecuador. My mom was from Ecuador, and I mean, she traveled all this way. She came, illegally at first, and then eventually she was able to get her papers here. But she has told me her stories, and I mean, this lady is 4'9". She has this giant spirit. Like nobody could crush her, and she is so good, and she believes in like turning the cheek and doing good regardless of, like, she's like to the extreme. Like, I can't be that nice. I can't be that nice, unfortunately. But she is that kind of person. It's like, you just turn the other cheek and you just keep pushing. And I saw her. We came here in 1999, and we lost everything when we came here from Ecuador, because I was raised in South America, in Ecuador, and we lost everything when we came here because we came here legally, but our bags ripped open and we lost all of our clothes, so we had nothing. And like within weeks, my mom left my dad, and we had nothing. We literally had nothing, like, but a couple of clothing, and she made it happen. She had 3 kids. She was on her own. My dad never helped her, and she never became like a part of the system, like asking the government for help or anything, So she didn't speak English. She worked 2 jobs, and it's just like seeing her and her drive has always motivated me to like keep pushing.
That's cool. We do not get that from our mothers, probably.
What?
No, like the inspiration or like the drive to like dream bigger. Like, I think it's definitely me and you on this one. That's how I feel, and that's enough. Like, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't have to be from other people, and I think that can also be like, it's also important for people to realize that, like, wanting people to fill the wrong roles in your life. Like, I need to hear this from those people because they're important to me. It's like, they can be important to you, but just don't let them be those people with that voice for you. Like, choose the right people. Like, like me and Stephanie, I don't need other people to dream for me. Like, as long as she's got my back, I got hers. Like, we're good.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
family plays such a big role in all of our lives. And I think like my family was very supportive of me when I was in Canada having my business. They're less supportive now. Not that they're not supportive, but there's a background noise to their not happy that we live overseas. So there's like a large displeasure with it. And I think, John's family really wanted him to pursue post-secondary education more than business. And so I think, not that our families don't love us and encourage us in the things that are important to them, but I think like what we dream of, they're a little like, you guys are like a little up in the clouds. I think that's what they think about us sometimes. Like, okay, we'll see how it goes, guys. And like, what are you doing with your lives? But I think like the people, like John said, each other, but I think even the people that, to me, like in Fiji, we have a lot of feedback from our social media. Like, people will say like, wow, thank you. Like, really inspired me to start a small business in Fiji, or like stick around and actually like try to make something of myself. I was kind of lost before, or people will, say things like that. And people that have actually moved to the country that I've met, they've moved back home to go, you guys showed me it's possible. I've always wanted to do it, but I was scared to do it. And now, like, I'm doing it because I saw you do it. That kind of stuff makes me go, okay, that's validating. And I think even for you, like I listened to your mom's story, like that's amazing. And what a strong woman. And I think like sometimes when we look at examples like that, like, oh, well, my mom could do that. Like, okay, I can overcome what's in front of me. And I think all of our situations are personally very hard for us in it, and nobody else can quite feel that feeling. But there's just that one thing that kicks you over like the hump of I can't do it, and that's so worth it. And even just for us, like when I'm having a really bad day and someone says to me, wow, like you guys actually made me start like a small business and I'm working my way towards like growing it bigger in Fiji, I go, oh, this is all worth it because someone actually got something out of, the content we're creating and the value that we're giving. I think that inspires me. So, yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah, it is. You just never know what kind of impact you're making. Like I don't remember exactly where I heard this from, but it's talking about thinking. Don't think about the big picture, right? Think about the one individual that you could be helping, right? Instead of just thinking of numbers and thinking of this and that, like think about that one person that you could be affecting, right? And even if it's two people, like how powerful is that through social media we could be affecting other people, close by to us, maybe people far away from us that we might have never even met, but we get to do that and we get to be a part of their journey by sharing our stories and doing what we love and pursuing what we love.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So we've loved this conversation. You're awesome. I'm so glad we got to hear your backstory. It's been really cool to actually know about you. Do we have another delay? I think we were delayed again, but I think we got to head out. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. Of course. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. It has been wonderful. I know that it's been a little bit weird with the technology failing us today back to back, but we made the most of it. I appreciate you guys hanging in there and just making it work. And I know you guys had a long day. These guys have been up since like 6:30 Pacific time, and it's been a long day. They're on Fiji time. It's late over there too, I'm sure. But thank you so much again for joining me, sharing your story with my viewers. For anybody that would like to follow you guys and follow your journey, where can they find you?
So we are on all social media platforms. Just search the Waka Family and you'll find us.
There you go, guys. And I hope this podcast, as always, I always hope that this reaches whoever needs to hear it, whoever needs to be inspired to take that next step and follow their journey and whatever they want to do. I really hope that this episode was helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, share with others. Thank you again, wherever you are listening to this. I appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys on the next one.